When did you realize that you're a terrible person? My ex told me she never realized how miserable she was with me. I looked at our relationship from her side and realized that I wasn't giving 100%. I judged her a lot. Only went to see when I wanted to. Stopped taking her on dates. Let myself go a bit and blamed her for not making me feel attractive anymore. A lot of things that I'm working on fixing right now. Not to win her back but to just feel better about myself. I realized that I was just a very self-centered person, not even on purpose, but I just genuinely didn't try to consider the effects my actions had on other people, and I was the constant one-upper in conversations. I had to constantly make things about me. Took a lot of work to try to change my mindset and is still a work in progress. I realized that as well. Every time someone says some personal issue, I have to go and say about mine. I don't even think about talking about their problems. I want to talk about mine, and I doing that just now. For me it wasn't any sudden moment of reflection or anything, but more of a slow and creeping realization. You just come to slowly accept it, like each day you consider yourself a bit less of a good person and more of a bad person. A few years ago, while helping a friend move some furniture, his 70-ish mother picked up a curtain rod from a pile of them leaning in a corner. Among them was a cast iron one that was very heavy. It fell and knocked her unconscious in a very cartoonish kind of way. It hit her. She straightened up and just fell over backwards. I laughed and could not stop. I realized after a few moments that everyone was staring at me as though I just crap on the dining room table. Yep, I am a terrible person. TLDR. Laughing at old ladies being knocked unconscious is a faux pas. I noticed as a teenager but kind of ignored it. My wife's behavior and responses to things really makes it clear though. She'll say or react to something and I'll be like, oh yeah, probably should have said X or done Y. When I found out Allison Mack and Kristen Kruk of Smallville were part of a sex cult that trafficked women, and my first thought was that I'd love to be in a sex cult with Allison Mack and Kristen Kruk. I've discovered I'm only a terrible person when driving. I'm not really sure why me getting behind the wheel makes me want everyone else on the road to die in fiery crash, but there it is. I recently had to drive about 40 minutes in city traffic with a friend and he said that he no longer wanted to drive anywhere with me. I get super angry. I never road rage, but I just get progressively bittier as the trip goes on, making snide comments about literally everyone, even if they aren't actually doing wrong. When I had convinced myself my boyfriend was abusive, then looked up signs of an abusive relationship and they were all things I had done to him. I think it takes a lot to realize that, and I'm trying hard to get better. I will always feel terrible. When I realized most of my responses to things my classmates tell me are Jesus Christ, I hate you so much and kill me please. It sounds edgy, but in context, I'm just being a dong. I went through that phase too. When I realized that pretty much everyone I become friends with I end up either acting stupid or doing something to pee them off, and then I cut them out of my life because I'm afraid they hate me and then they start to actually hate me. When I decided to stop pleasing family and my community and just did and said whatever came to mind, I feel happier now. Before I was a fraud and I knew it and I hated myself so much. Now I'm more than okay with myself. Probably when I was robbing everyone I know so I could sell their crap for more repeatedly cheating on my then GF, who obviously left me, lying to everyone, etc. My job involves selling developing software that often eliminates jobs. I don't justify it as someone else would do it, I just don't care. When I realized I just don't care about people the way they care about me and each other, I maintain relationships with people mostly because it's normal and good to have people you're good with and to square out any favors they've given me. I see it all as transactional. Rarely, I'll meet a girl I really like and it doesn't feel that way with them, but mostly I don't have much of a connection to anyone and fake it. Feel the same way. I think if we could see through the eyes of others, we'd all understand. I once saw a homeless pregnant girl on the street begging for change. Instead of feeling sorry and giving her money, I was extremely angry that she would get pregnant in that situation. It never occurred to me till a few days later she could have been raped or kicked out by her parents. And I've since tried and like to think I've succeeded in trying to put myself in other people's shoes before I judge them. Homeless people don't have the best access to birth control. Don't have to have gotten kicked out or raped for this to be sad. A common response I've heard to that is don't have sex if you can't afford birth control, but claiming that intimacy is not something for poor people seems kind of callous. When I started wishing that my mom, who has ALS and is completely bedbound and has been for 3 years, would just die already, I quit nursing school 3 years ago to be her full-time caregiver so that she wouldn't have to live in a nursing home. My 2 sisters barely helped as they had real jobs to go to. Now, we have nurses who are covered by my mom's Medicaid Medicare, and I only have to stay with her 2 or 3 days a week. I'm paid for my time now and I know that's crappy, but it's the only thing that keeps me coming back. She can't talk or move at all. I'm 26, and my fiance and I have a 5-year-old son. I just want to focus on building my life with them. Look into finding a caregiver support group. What are doing and have done for her is very hard with little support from your family. You could benefit from talking to others in the same situation. They may also have info for getting more help, like government programs, etc. I don't feel bad when I hear that people have died. Usually, I feel worse when I hear that a complete stranger dies, for whatever reason. Ate mushrooms in the woods with a group of close friends. Realized how crap I was and decided to make a change. Now I tell people I used to be a total butthole and they are baffled. When I found myself growing more and more comfortable wishing, in the moment, that people who do relatively innocuous yet infuriating things would freaking vanish from the earth. When I'm not in the moment I don't think it anymore, but if I miss the bus by like 3 seconds because someone was blocking my path, or if someone is on the train listening to something on their phone extremely loudly without headphones, I wish horrific things on them at that very moment. When I realized I'm a disappointment to my parents, they won't say such things out loud, of course, but I know it's true. I have those moments as well. I generally do good, but my life is not perfect, and when I look at all my faults and crap I do wrong, it really just makes me want to go and tell them I'm sorry. That if I could get away with it, I'd actually sit on the roof all day and night sniping people who rev their engines next to the busy main street I've lived at my whole life. I know there is no point in doing so because you're always less than 1 minute from a red light. To reiterate, I would take great joy in ending these lives. That's how I know. Well, I must be terrible too, cause I'd hire you to snipe my neighbor who revs his engine every time he leaves or parks his ugly early 90s Mustang that he keeps on the street directly behind our driveway. Heck, half the reason I haven't done something already is because he'd probably guess I did it. Realizing that good intentions are not an excuse to do dickish things. The truth is everyone believes what they do is with the best of intentions, but it doesn't make them right. That instead of fixing my issues and problems head on, I'd rather wallow in self-pity, probably not gonna change in a long time. I criticized Rihanna for being a loser after getting back with Chris Brown and was immediately called a jerk for not understanding the cycles of abuse and victim shaming. When my GF died, her parents reached out and offered to get me to the ceremony. I ghosted them and what feels like skipped a month until realizing what really happened and what I did afterwards. This doesn't make you terrible. A lot of people disappear when a loved one passes. Honestly, I'm sure they understand. And if they don't, you can always explain to them why you vanished. When I saw a midget on a skateboard ride by me, and I wondered how it would feel to just up and roundhouse the mother since he is at the perfect height for it. I cheated on my boyfriend of a year after lying to him about where I was going and who I'd be with. He agreed to stay with me and work on things even after I betrayed him, and then I broke up with him a few days later because it was too hard. I then started dating the guy I cheated on him with. That guy broke up with me after a month. Then I realized I can add liar, cheater, bad judge of character, selfish, impulsive, idiot, and about a million other things to my list of faults. When my wife was talking to my ex-GF and my wife casually mentioned that I was out with my friends, my ex was surprised I had any friends. My wife asked her why she'd think that and she told her don't take this the wrong way but he pushes people away and never gets close to anyone. All my friends thought he was an butthole. It's true, I turned down 90% of the invites I get from friends or colleagues. I like having friendly acquaintances, but man, how do you choose friends? It just seems like so much work, and I really value my alone time on weekends. It took many years and lots of hard work, but I finally managed to overcome my conditioning to be the person I was meant to be. When I had a bunch of people start treating me like crap and I got upset, only to realize that's exactly how I treat everybody else. Since then I've been more self-aware and socially aware about what I say and do with people. I was smoking weed with a guy I met a couple months before. We had a thing and he was crazy about me, used to do everything for me. When I was high I couldn't stop thinking he would rape and hurt me, even though I really trust him sober. That was the moment I realized I have an ugly mind. When this girl, single mom, was calling me stupid because I made a mistake, I blurted out, "So how's your boyfriend?" She shut up immediately. I didn't feel bad until my boyfriend called me terrible. Then I got angry at him because I felt like I was just defending myself from a very rude person. It wasn't until I calmed down that I realized, holy crap, I just wrecked this girl's life. I realized it was low blow and I shouldn't had said that, but I still didn't feel that bad. She was a total B for as long as I knew her. So, yeah, I'm a terrible person and I know it, and I wish I wasn't, but I also don't care that much. This doesn't really seem that bad. Well, I came to the realization I'm quite selfish, and probably too selfish to want to change. And my friends or groups or whatever, they just sort of left. Now one time you think it's them, not you. 2 times the same, maybe 3 times at a push, but many times my friends have just stopped talking to me, stopped texting, ghosted me basically. I tried to think of what I did, like I wasn't asking for inappropriate photos or stealing or not paying bills or anything, but in the end after so much time and so many people, I concluded it was in fact my fault and I am just a bad person. When someone gets something I wanted, but didn't get, I do all that "I'm happy for you" crap, but I don't mean it at all. I think there's a part of this in everyone when this happens. The fact you don't act on your instinctive reaction is a sign you're not all bad. I ghosted almost everyone close to me in the past couple of years that isn't my father. My friendships, online or real, never last more than a couple of months. When I held a grudge against a few people because of what they did, I've learned from that, and actually I'm scared to hold grudges and instead be forgiving and sincere. When I finally came to terms with the fact that I don't want children simply because I'm selfish, I don't want to give up my free time, sleep, disposable income to care for someone else. I am a terrible person. No, you've been brainwashed into believing that parents are inherently better than the child-free. They aren't. It's simply a personal choice. I could argue that it's pretty selfish to gaze out upon a world suffering from an overabundance of humanity and saying, you know, what this place really needs is some more of me. When my boyfriend said he hesitates to tell me things he's excited about because he's afraid I'll get mad, I do tend to be a bee and overreact to a lot of stuff. But dang, that broke my heart. I'm no longer his safe space, his confidant. I'm working harder than ever to fix that. When LOL released Chroma skins for Cyan the other day, he was so excited he's been waiting years, and then he got quiet and said, "I almost didn't tell you. I was worried you'd be mad." For context, he hadn't texted me back for several hours and his response was a call about Cyan's new skins. I might have been irritated. I wasn't, but I was so happy for him. My daughter said "I love you too." Never forget that my response was "I won't, unless, when I get older, I get Alzheimer's. Then I won't remember who you are." I was dropping her off at middle school at the time. What the heck is wrong with me? When my wife was in a coma and a friend asked me if there was anything she could do, I asked if she'd take my wife's place in our D&D game. This guy fricks. There's no serious tag, but I'll give a serious answer. When I realized how miserable I was, I'd spent years and years in this downward spiral, trying to make happiness out of insignificant and finite things rather than lasting relationships, as well as hurting people who wanted to give me a direction and to care about myself more. That direction wasn't where I wanted to go. But I lied for years that it was and just lived this double life, eventually leading to feeling trapped and hated because I could not for the life of me be honest. I finally let go, in a cowardly way, but I cut it all off to embark on something that I felt would be worth real investment and happiness. And since then, I've been working hard to be an honest, kind person, with a lot of success. I'm actually happy now and working towards the future. The mistakes I made and the people I hurt don't go away, but I know it's better that I'm not there now, for all of us. When my dad finally died and I realized that I'd moved 2k miles across the country just so I wouldn't have to watch it happening anymore. It's easier for me to empathize with criminals than with victims. When I hear about child molester or rapists, I just feel nothing for the victims. On the other hand, I feel a little something for those who get condemned for serious crimes. IDK. I can't find the right words to explain that. It's 4:30 AM and English is not my native language. When I realized I legit do not need people in my life to make myself happy, I'm content, comfortable, and happy with how I am. I have zero interest in changing who I am for anybody else. Unfortunately, such an attitude has netted me friends with completely opposite attitudes. A bunch of bastards. For a 26-year-old, I'm selfish and haven't necessarily grown up, but I justify my leaning on others by saying, well, at least I never had a kid. I'm pretty fricked up, but I try to fix what I can when I notice it. When I made that baby cockroach that was scuttling across my damp sink try to swim in a 50-degree whirlpool while I spat out nonsensical swears at it. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.